For many of the senior professionals and executives that I work with, their new roles came from a conversation, not a job application. For example, someone called them about it. Someone made an introduction to the hiring manager, and the door opened sometimes even before the job ad was posted. This was in fact how I got my CEO role, and the role after that, and the role before that. But that was years ago, and what I'm watching right now is that the mechanics behind the tap on the shoulder has changed in recent years. Maybe you've noticed it too. I know that my coaching clients have. And I see a lot of professionals out there networking the old-fashioned way, following a protocol that just doesn't work the way it used to. And if that's you, it's time for us to upgrade the rules of your game. As a career coach, I have noticed 3 shifts in the job market. And I will walk you through these 3 shifts and tell you what to do instead. And stay with me till the end, please, because it's the 3rd one that really surprises most of my experienced clients. Let me start with the networking game you already know, because the changes only make sense when we compare them, right? If you are an experienced professional or senior leader, for most of your career, roles came to you. Maybe it was a call, an introduction, a tap on the shoulder. You rarely had to apply, right? And that's not luck, and it's not unusual at senior levels. First of all, many C-level and senior roles never reached the job market in the first place. We discussed this in my previous video, so please go check it out later. I'll have a link to it below. Then, if and when they do get advertised, it's for due diligence reasons, for governance, and to meet policy, but also to make sure they do the right thing. If there is someone outstanding out there, they get a chance to apply, and that's fair enough. But look, a Russell Reynolds study found that 67% of S&P 500 CEO successions in 2025 were internal. That's almost 7 out of 10. They never hit the open market at all. None of that is new to you. What's new is what I'm going to tell you next. So let me give you the first shift, and it's the one already sitting right in front of you. Today, even at senior levels, there is very often now a machine, an automated screen sitting in front of the human. Yes, even at senior levels, there is a risk that your CV, your job application could be filtered out before anyone has ever laid eyes on it. And here is who it hits the hardest. It's the people who never had to apply for a senior job before. Maybe you have applied for a role a long time ago and you were junior back then, because you built a whole career on relationships, so you never had to learn to write to a system built around the sheer volume of applications. I mean, why would you? You had a secure job and a wide network. And I want to say this kindly because I see it all the time. It's literally what I do as a career coach, working with experienced professionals just like you. This is not a competence gap, because I know you are a very competent professional and leader. It's a resilience gap. Your job security has never been challenged before like this. And it's completely fixable. I'll come back to exactly how, because working through exactly issues like this with professionals who have to apply for senior roles is what I do with my coaching clients every day. So if you want my support with this, go to my website, renatabernardi.com, and book an introductory meeting with me. I will tell you very quickly if I think I'm the right coach for you. You can assess if I'm the type of coach that you need. There is a link below. And look, that's the first shift, the fact that you will need to get used to a machine assessing your experience and fit for the role. And the second shift, at first glance, it looks like bad news, but it isn't. And most senior people read it exactly the wrong way. Here is the second shift. More and more senior roles are opening up as interim, fractional instead of permanent. Interim chief executive appointments have roughly tripled in early 2025. And postings with the word fractional in the title have grown sharply since 2022. Now, the first time you hear that, it sounds bleak, doesn't it? Is the job market quietly telling you that permanent roles don't exist? No, not exactly, but let me explain this better for you. For a senior leader with a real network, an interim move is very often the fastest way back into the room. I've watched it become the bridge to the next permanent seat more than once, either within the organization or because it gives them enough time to look for a real permanent role without feeling anxious and stressed about not having a job at all. And these are not short little stopgaps anymore. This year, in 2026, Hendricks & Struggle surveyed nearly 4,000 independent leaders. And 42% of their engagements now run longer than 6 months. A few years ago, that was only 27%. These are substantial mandates with a real scope. An interim or a fractional role is a door, not a downgrade. If you want to go deeper into what it means to be an interim executive, I will list below a few episodes of the Job Hunting podcast that you can listen to here on YouTube. So that's 2 shifts now. The third shift is the quiet one. It's reshaping how long this whole job search journey takes, and it's punishing one group of people in particular. Here is the third shift. The recruitment process for senior executives is taking longer than it used to, and it involves more rounds than it used to. The average number of interviews per hire has climbed from about 14 to 20 in the last 4 years, and C-suite searches now commonly run for about 4 to 9 months. And this lengthening is not a blip, it is a trend. Independent research on hiring data has found time to hire climbing for years, recently to record highs across almost every kind of role. And from my work with my coaching clients, I can anecdotally confirm this. It is a global trend, not specific to a country, region, industry, or sector. Now, a side note on the headlines. The quarterly confidence surveys we often see are all over the place right now, some up and some down. Please don't hang your whole plans on scary numbers like that. Despite everything, there are still opportunities for you in the market. With my clients, my goal is to get every one of them happily employed. They've invested in me, and my responsibility is to give them this competitive edge. Because here's what I believe is actually very reliable in a job search. It's the structure and strategy of your job search. If you've watched my previous video, you already know that longer cycles reward the people who are already visible, already in the conversation before the role even opens. So in contrast, longer recruitment cycles tend to negatively affect job seekers who only start connecting and applying once they are already out of a job and see a role advertised. That's the real cost of waiting. So those are your 3 shifts. Now the part that you've actually come for, what to do instead. It comes down to 3 moves, and none of them are complicated, they are just very intentional. The first move is to activate your network before you need it. Because that message you send after 5 years of silence, that's the tell that the moment has already passed. So if possible, reconnect while you still have all of your options. But whatever you do, even if you have to start now, lead with something useful for them. And this isn't just my opinion. One of the largest studies ever conducted on this followed more than 20 million people and was published in a prestigious peer-reviewed journal. It asked one simple question: which relationships actually lead to a new role? And the answer surprised even the researchers. It wasn't the closest contacts, the people you speak to every week. It was the people a little further out, the ones you only hear from now and then. Those slightly looser connections are the ones most likely to open your next door. If you are a client of mine, you have already heard this before. And you have not only experienced this, but can also testify to its effectiveness as an intentional strategy. Let me give you the clearest example I have, and it's my own. During the pandemic, every single contract I had collapsed at once. I was consulting before then. And the work that rescued me came from someone I'd met a decade earlier and just stayed in touch with. You never know which relationship it will be that will help you out. That's exactly why you keep as many of them as warm as possible, and you find ways to connect with them that are both genuine and not too onerous for you. For me, it has been LinkedIn, commenting on other people's posts, sending them private messages of support, and if I were around where they live or work, asking if they wanted to catch up for a coffee, inviting them to attend an event with me, and so on. Nothing that adds too much to my plate, but when it does, it's also something fun for me to do and not a chore. The second move is to make your CV in LinkedIn reflect the outcomes of your current level, and if you're advancing your career, making it clear where you're going. Most people forget to update their CVs and especially their LinkedIn profiles. Over time, these important pieces of collateral are not representing you anymore. I recommend checking your LinkedIn profile and resume every quarter. On LinkedIn, this will ensure that your presence is optimized on an important professional platform, and reviewing your resume regularly means that it's always ready if somebody asks for it. Because the last thing you want is for someone to ask for your resume and then you leave them waiting for days, if not weeks. On my website, you can book a consultation with me. It's an hour for us to do whatever is super important for you. And many professionals book it, and when it comes time to our chat, they say they need to review their resume because someone asked to see it. And then I found out it was days, if not weeks ago that happened. And that's why in my booking system, I say get in touch if it's urgent. And if I really can't squeeze you in, I often recommend you purchase my Reset Your Career course so you can at least DIY it with the help of watching my masterclasses and using the examples that I provide. So please never lose momentum and always respond to these requests very quickly. And the third move is to put yourself in the rooms with decision makers, people who are in charge of hiring professionals just like you. Think events run by peak bodies, invitation-only boardroom lunches, conversations with executives more senior than you, mentors, board members, and also, of course, headhunters when they reach out to you or if you get introduced to them. By the time this video is out, I will have run a workshop for 60 corporate professionals run by a recruitment firm here in Melbourne. It's invitation only. I know that they have invited 10 times more people, but the ones in the room are the ones that are getting a competitive edge from me, plus the networking opportunities from each other, and of course, from being in front of the recruiters. So here's the anchor under all of this. When I was on the hiring side, the candidates who moved fast were never the ones who applied cold. Job candidates who apply cold many times apply late, are late to respond to messages and requests. And look, sometimes we are busy and that's okay. Other opportunities will come your way. But don't fall into a pattern of always applying cold and late. That is the recipe for a long unemployment transition. I don't want you to do that. The candidates who moved fast in the recruitment process were the ones already in the room, so to speak, having had warm interactions with the company in some capacity, even if only because they had applied for a job before and didn't get it. You know, that also gets them in the room for future roles if they presented well, but were not the right candidate for that specific role they applied. I really want to talk more about this strategy in a future video, so please subscribe to my channel and hit that follow button. So here's one thing you can do this week. Send one genuine message today to someone you haven't spoken to in over 6 months. Not a favor, not an ask, just a real check-in with something useful for them. For example, I really appreciate it when a former client reaches out and sends me an article they read that made them think of me, or a recruiter who calls me to share a reflection about the job market they believe I should convey to my clients, or on my podcast, or here on YouTube. Today, I woke up to an email from a client I haven't seen in a few months saying thank you for a book that I sent him and giving me an update on what he's up to. Many recruiters and coaches and clients have been in touch last week to give me feedback about the YouTube video from last week, which was super helpful to me and my team and opened up doors for several opportunities for collaboration for me and for them. So try it. You really have nothing to lose. And look, the job market is not the villain in this story, nor is AI or the economy. It's that assumption that you may have so common at the senior level that a tap on the shoulder will just arrive all on its own without any preparation on your part. The mechanics have changed, but they are learnable. And you can start with a small message to someone and springboard into this new era with me. In fact, if you're not a subscriber to my newsletter yet, why not? It's free, it goes out every week, and there is content there that I do not share anywhere else. You will find a link to subscribe in the description, and if you know someone who is still networking the old-fashioned way, please send them this video, pay it forward. Now, once you've sent the message to your connection you haven't spoken to in months, there is a right and a wrong way to have the conversation that comes next. The one that turns a friendly catch-up into a real opportunity, without you ever having to ask for a job. That's exactly what we're going to talk about in our next video, so please keep watching, subscribe and follow, and I will see you next week. Bye for now.